Want to 10x your growth? Discover how only 3 growth hacks in 10 days can change everything. Welcome to the 10-Day Growth Hacking Challenge with your host, Nader Sabri. Today, we're here with Costa with his company called Smart Tender. He's shaking things up in the space when it comes to complex, high-value tendering, especially in the energy sector. Being an expert himself, he learned about some of the inner details that caused a lot of factors why a tender would fail for somebody, of course, applying to a tender, or some of the complexities when they win, where they may lose because some of the risks they did not think about or calculate prior to. An extremely valuable service using artificial intelligence with massive growth opportunities. Today, we're here with Costa to learn more about him. You can click below to know more about his story. You can go back to the kickoff video. And as we get started, for those who are joining, as you know, if you want to do what we're doing here, we use the growth thinking methodology. Welcome aboard, Costa. Hack number 1. How you doing?
Hi, good morning. It's nice to see you again.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So super psyched up. This is a really important hack. I really like this one. I really like the fact that you switched the hacks as well. You created a new priority order, which is great. It's always a good sign. So why don't we just start by just telling me what is hack number 1, what happened with hack number 1, and some of the key learnings and next steps.
Sure. So one of the things that we were discussing as a challenge, it was to have qualified and interested leads into the funnel. So as we did as an hack, we created an ROI calculator. So what it is actually and what we did. So the things to understand about a tender and to put priority on is how much is going to cost you to prepare the tender, how much you're going to win in terms of tenders, and how much those tenders are going to be profitable. So what we did, we put this in a simple evaluator, in an ROI calculator. So our clients can go there directly. They can put the total value of tender that they have an average over here. They can put the win rate. So how many tenders they win, how many tenders they lose, what's the margin on those. So margin means commercial margin. So eventually the profit on those tenders. So they're going to have a quick view on how much they're going to spend on Smart Tender, because also we put a cost and the price of Smart Tender on the evaluator, on the calculator, and how much they're going to gain, to see what's the actual result and what's the actual ROI on the investment on the Smart Tender. And how we did it practically, we went on our website and we created a page with our ROI calculator, and we published the website. To gain traction on the website, we leverage our LinkedIn page. So we have a LinkedIn page of about 1,000 followers. So when we publish on our LinkedIn page, and on top of this, we put some money on an ad to see a bit more engagement and traction. So we had an ads. We spend a decent amount, nothing major, but a decent amount of money on the ads to see actually which kind of signaling those ROI evaluators going to be. So this is the hack.
Perfect. So what kind of signals have you got so far? What have you seen as in the sense of signals and finally results? What have you seen so far?
Yeah, pretty interesting
Okay.
signal.
Okay.
Impression compared, because we tried as well in the past to have some ads, but more static content. So we're publishing different things. On this one, we saw very interesting, and we ran it for really, it was more than 24 hours, and Perfect. We had about 5,500 impressions on the page, and we had an interesting, not bad, but an interesting click rate onto the page. So what we have now is a tool that is giving us visibility, engagement with our clients, and there is a click-through rate through our website, and they use the evaluator, and we had as well few interesting leads coming into the pipeline.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So the impressions was 5,500. What was the click-through rate?
So the click-through rate was about 1.5%.
Okay, not bad at all. Okay.
Yes, we had about 69 actually engagement, and about 60, few less, let's say, on the website working on, and eventually then we received an email on we are interested in the solution. how we can move forward.
Perfect. So from 5,500 top line, 1.5%, which is a 69 of them have responded by going to the site. Out of those who went to the site, how many used the calculator out of the 69?
So we had at this stage, and again, that is still there, we had 5 emails coming into with an interesting.
So from the 69, so 5% of the 69. So that's a little under 10%. There's about like 8.5, 9%. But that's not bad, actually. That's actually pretty good.
And as well, it's something that we're gonna improve as well.
Yeah.
Because this is what actually worked, and we brainstormed about what we can do better and differently, and we found out that eventually the call to action that can be improved, because again we had few experimentation, but we want to work on that. So when we have this click-through rate out, we can get more into the funnel.
Agreed. And did you get the counter with like what we're talking about at the top to show them the total amount of, okay, and how do you have a heat mapping tool at all on your site to see if people responded to the counter at all?
So what we are still working on the counter. We had one already somehow. We are for the growth hacking tool. So what we did is actually we put a live counter on EPC tender in the oil and energy industry. So is there now we are trying to see more how we can leverage that.
Yeah, please, because if you have that live one that rotates and you give like a nice summarized number, but people can see it moving, they know that you're calculating the value of the tenders, and people can see that transparently from the very front. And that allows people to see the value of your tool. So if they know there's $1 trillion worth of tenders sitting inside your system, and they do the calculator, the natural next step is, how do I get into this, right? Like, how do I get started? And I think, as you recall, we were talking about value proposition, and value proposition. One of the growth hacks that we use is using objections that happen at the end of the sales process, at the very beginning of the funnel, but transforming the value rather than being a rejection to a benefit, or we find unique ways, as I explained to you before. So it's almost kind of like you go to a site and it says, click here, no contracts, no obligation, 30-day money back guarantee. Those are rejections that happen at the very end. And rather than waiting the very end, they get it out of the way at the very beginning, and the response rates go up. And so the signals you have are extremely healthy. I think you're on the right track. So continue this hack, and we'll follow up obviously on that in the next, remaining of the 10 days and as you do the other hacks. But from the signals that I see, this is very healthy. I think you need to continue, test out the other calls to action. And one of the other things I think we discussed, I don't know if you got to it yet, but testing benchmarking. So once you give them the calculator, you can show a benchmark range, and you can just test it out with arbitrary numbers to begin with, or very simplistic calculations. And the ultimate aspect to that is, unfortunately, it's FOMO. FOMO works like magic, fear of missing out. But ultimately, what it does is it also shows that your AI, the superiority of your AI. Because if I was going into a system, so I know there's $1 trillion, I know what I can get out of it, and here's what the competition looks like. You've answered all the key things from a value perspective, which would have me extremely interested to want to get into your program. And I think those next experiments should be your benchmark and should be your CTA, and the counter. So you've got the counter, but if there's anything else you can do to the counter, just to kind of test it out, give it a try. Another thing that we've tried in the past with these counter hacks is under the counter number. So let's say you have $1 trillion in tenders. Underneath, we would put down, say, 2,500, of course, is arbitrary, but example, but 2,500 live tender. What do you call somebody who bids for a tender? Tenderees? I think that's a wrong terminology, isn't it? Bidders.
The bidder.
Bidders. Yeah, so you can put like a number there showing that there's X amount of people bidding. That's a test that you can do later to see like how do people respond, not respond. I recommend using a heat map tool. There's a lot of them out there. There's Hotjar, Crazy Egg, and there's a lot. They're very inexpensive. You can find a lot of them, and ultimately it's one of these ways that we can get just a signal to see what happens with the counter. Do people actually spend time on it? Do they look at it? What you can do as well as a test is, if you do put that number of how many bidders, you can put a call to action right underneath it, a really small one, and that would give us a above the fold test. Above the fold test would essentially be like, get started now. So that means that somebody doesn't care about the calculator. They just want to start now because they see that your system has a lot of value in it. And this is a very interesting experiment because you might find out that so it doesn't mean the calculator is bad. What it means is you have two types of demographics, right? Or two types of, behavioral response. One behavioral response is like, okay, this is big, I want in. Boom, they click and move to the next step. Some of them may like, hey, that's big, what does it mean to me? That's the below part. And what happens with testing, and this throws people off in growth hacking, is that there's not an A/B testing on this. This is not right or wrong. This is about targeting people with different behaviors, right? And so you'll have a segment of people that would just click and go forward once they see how big the opportunity is. And some others will be like, well, what's in it for me? And next step. And so with time, you'll start to learn these behavioral patterns and you'll service them in different ways. You'll be able to communicate in the language and propositions that matter. So example, somebody who may see the opportunity and click, his or her objections may be different to that of somebody who does the calculator, for example. These are things you'll need to figure out, and your response rates will go through the roof, and you'll see what I'm talking about later on. But these are things to just consider moving to the next step.
Thank you.
Awesome. So that's hack number one, man. I love it. Signals are there, and you're excited. I love your energy. When you called me up, you're like, dude, we're gonna do this, and you did it very fast. So whatever you've done in the sense of energy and speed on hack one, do it in hack 2 and 3. You're gonna do very well at it. So there we go. Anything else you want to share with us related to hack one?
Of course, good. Thank you very much.
Awesome, guys. So that's Costa, guys. To get more information about him, click below. To know more about his story, head over to the kickoff video. As we tune out, for those who want to do what we do here on the challenge, it's all based on the growth thinking design methodology. If you want to do what we're doing here, this is your tool. We'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck, Costa.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadia. Good day.